Hi there.
Shawnee, we're back. I'm so happy. I missed you so much. You abandoned me.
I didn't abandon you. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just
I was here the whole
We
time.
had holidays. We had New Year's. You were on the road. I was doing my thing. We have not seen each other probably since the last time we recorded.
Probably, yeah, you're right. And that's a long time for us. We usually see each other like
Many
times during the week.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to see you.
We're about to see each other a whole ton because we're going to be raging in San Francisco at Sketchfest.
That's right.
I know we have a big West Coast listenership, and we want you all to come out and see us.
We will be at Sketchfest in January in San Francisco. If you live in the area, come on out and check out the show.
January 26th.
January 26th. We have a great guest. We have Paget Brewster, who is an amazing actress. She's going to be our guest.
Baby.
She's super, super funny, super cool. And she's going to be the guest for our big... and there's going to be another surprise, too. I have another...
We got some tricks up our sleeves, so come to that. Sign up for our Patreon. Our Patreon is popping. All our real True Blue fans are on there. We do posts. We interact. We put out bonus episodes when we can. We try to keep it regular. We're going to be more consistent.
And the address is patreon.com/defendyourmovie. And yeah, we've done a bunch of bonus content for it already. We're trying to get more shirts out
Tell
to you
us
guys.
What you want.
We're trying to give you as much as we possibly can.
I'll get to the shirts as soon as Sean watches Titanic. Sean has deeply, deeply offended our listeners.
I promise I will watch it. I promise.
The feud on this podcast has grown exponentially because our first episode back was supposed to be Sean finally sees a Titanic. And guess what you're about to find out very shortly. Few seconds, few minutes, you will find out this episode is not about Titanic. Okay? And it's like an iceberg hit my heart and sunk it down into my vagina because I am devastated.
I promise I will do it soon. I will watch it soon.
All right.
When? What I'll do is, how about this? We're going to do, I promise this now, to make up for it, what I'll do is, we're going to do an episode about it, and also, I will use my recorder and record my own commentary on Titanic that will be put out on the Patreon.
Amazing.
Okay?
Okay.
Does that seem fair?
Please keep tweeting and harassing Sean about this.
And if you want,
he's convinced it's quote-unquote too long. And
it's super long.
It's honestly not long enough.
It's a 3-hour plus movie.
It's not long enough. There's so much depth.
So you can come over and watch it, and then we'll do commentary while we're watching. That'll be a bonus ep, plus the ep we talk about in it.
All right. Whatever. Guys, Sean does not respect you. I don't know what more to say.
That's not true.
No, but it's not what this episode's about, but it's a great episode. Yes. I loved it.
So please enjoy. Excited. Check it out. Rate, review, all that jazz. Here it is.
Please rate and review.
Here's us with my very good friend, super funny comic,
George. I thought we were going to say it together.
Oh, yeah. George Gordon.
In a world full of movie podcasts, here is one more. Welcome to Defend Your Movie with Sean Donnelly.
The time has come again. The champion must stand. It can only be one of us. Victoria! So stand up in that, my friend. There's a title you must defend. Shut it on and on. Bring it to me. Defend your movie.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Defend Your Movie. I am one of your hosts. I am Sean Donnelly, and I am joined after a hiatus.
We're back. We're back.
A holiday hiatus. I am here with my co-host Farrah Brooke. Hello, Farrah. How are you?
Hi, Shawnee. I missed you so much.
Did you really?
I did.
I missed you too. I really
haven't seen you. I miss you deeply. It hurts my heart.
Oh.
I was so excited for today. I was looking forward to it all week. I was counting down the days.
I missed you too. I really did.
I'm getting emotional, but I'm also getting my period. So.
Does that make sense?
I did miss you, though.
Well, thank you so much. We are joined today by a super funny dude, super funny comic. I've known him for years. He's my buddy. Give it up for George Gordon, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks for doing this, dude.
Thanks for having me. This is really cool.
It's so funny. We should talk about how it came to fruition. Literally, I'm just bad at booking this, and you know what it is? It's like booking a show. It's almost how I booked my show back in the day, where I was like, "Oh my god, I love you. You're funny. I haven't seen like you don't think of people until they're right in front of you. You know what I'm saying?
I actually kind of like that sort of whole thing. You're just like, oh yeah, just come on by.
Yeah, just come on by. Yeah, exactly.
Spontaneous.
Yeah.
So last night I did a show in Brooklyn where I had like an okay set. I did
was
like
fine.
it's a great show. It was this fancy show. It's in Brooklyn at a
Oh, I
place
like
called
that
the
show.
Douglas. It's a great show.
Yeah.
Mike Joyce runs it with this guy
Lane Peischel and Simmons McDavid.
Yeah, and those guys are great. Like they remind me of like
Formerly Langston used to run
yeah,
it,
Langston
too.
used to run it. Yeah,
Right.
with them. But he moved to Los Angeles.
Whatever.
Yeah. He had the greatest tweet the other day. You know what? I want to hear a funny story about Langston really quick. I know I'm going off on a tangent.
Sure.
He had a great tweet where he said that Jeff Sessions is like 2 minutes away from calling marijuana Negro cigarettes, and I retweeted it. Right? It's super funny. I retweeted it. But then isn't that hilarious? And I went, and then I retweeted it. I didn't write it myself, obviously. And then I went and did shows in DC.
Yeah.
And some guy goes, what about your cigarettes joke? And I go, what are you talking about? And he tells me the thing. And I go, no, I retweeted that. I didn't write that, you maniac. And then
Amazing.
that was
some people
Langston.
don't understand.
I don't think people know how Twitter works sometimes. They just think if you retweet something, you've written it. I don't know. Maybe people just don't understand it. But Langston is super funny dude. Lives in L.A. Awesome guy. That's the thing. Like, that's when you mix comedy with like good guys, like George.
Yeah.
Good guy, super funny comic.
thank
That's what I
you.
like to see. You know what I'm saying? Like, you like to see good people that are super funny. And those guys who
Yes.
run that show are really, really, really good guys that are
Yeah,
funny guys.
they're all sweethearts.
They're all
Agree.
sweethearts, and they hustle. I feel like it's lacking now in shows. I think people are half-assed about their stuff sometimes in comedy, and those guys aren't. Like they put a lot of effort into it. They get people to come to the show. It's really, really
Should we pick up?
no. It's Brendan Air. I'll call him after. Anyway, so to the story was last night. I just saw George. I haven't seen George. I don't know, probably a year or two.
It's I'm a bit of a hermit, so I kind of do my shows and I just kind of go back into hiding. So.
Oh, you do.
Yeah, but I like those guys, and that show is near my house, so I was like, I'll just shoot over and hang out. So that's the
I
key.
love a
Yeah.
convenient show.
Yeah,
I
it's
had
like
one
it's
of
near
those
my
last
house.
night. It
Yeah.
was the best.
Yeah, it's kind of rad. Just like I'm just gonna walk.
Yep.
That is pretty convenient.
Yeah.
I love that too because I had a show where it's a standing room recently that's like right by my house.
Yeah.
and it was great. And the guy was like, "Hey, can you hang out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can hang out. I'm 2 minutes from my house. Yes,
Right.
I'll go
That's-
up whenever.
that's
I don't
huge.
care." Yeah.
That's huge.
Oh, now I remember you live there.
I
If
live
have
in
a
Long
show.
Island City. Yeah, if you ever have a show over there, come on over and hang out.
I actually did have a show there. It's Sunday.
Get out!
I forgot.
Was
Oh,
I
nice.
there? I don't know if I was there. I was coming back from DC, but I probably was back by the time you had the show. You should have come by.
So I was telling Sean last night, there's like, not to slurp you guys, but I'm actually like a big fan of y'all's podcast, and now that I'm here, like this is genuine. So you guys actually like each other. It's really bizarre. Like,
We
it was-
do like each other.
And I
We
was
love
like,
each other.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it was like you walked in, you like gave Sean a big hug, and I was like, holy shit, this is for real. All right.
It really is.
Yeah. So
Well, anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about, you're doing today, we're going to talk about the movie Roadhouse.
Sure,
You're
yeah,
technically
yeah.
defending Roadhouse. I feel it's the type of situation where you can't do a bad movie podcast without talking about Roadhouse.
I've, of course, no surprise to any of our regular listeners, I've never heard of it. I
never
don't
even-
know where these movies come from. You're saying a lot of people know about this one?
They
Yes.
do, yeah,
Well,
'cause
people,
it's-
me and George are the same age. It's people our age that know about it, and guys. A lot of guys know about it. Even I would say younger guys know about Roadhouse
They do,
because
yeah.
it's like that quintessential bad movie.
When
That's
I hear
great.
the title, I think it's like, dudes and like some house on the road, and then it like gets haunted, and then they're like, no, and then they run out, and then they have to go on a road trip.
No, you were like on a good track. and
Okay,
then you
wait.
were, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
wait.
Okay.
Okay, there's a house on a road. They come up across it. It's probably like the car breaks down. And then they come across this house on a road, and then they start partying in it, and then
No.
Okay.
Not even close.
Well, we
Well,
try to do this. Where I
Roadhouse,
guess the
think about it.
movie-
All right, let's try and make you figure out what it is. Roadhouse.
Because I bet you could if you thought about
you
it.
thought
Well,
about
I
it.
did watch the trailer, which gave me no information besides that Patrick Swayze has great hair, and a lot of
great
people
hair.
kept saying, "I thought you would have been bigger." What the hell was up with that?
Well, because you want to explain it? Because
Yeah,
he's a tiny dude.
So he's a small guy.
He
but,
is?
So what the movie is about, Patrick Swayze plays this legendary cooler, and which is like a next level bouncer.
Now, I want to know.
What is a next level bouncer?
So he's like the ultimate badass of like fighting people, but like he's got these rules of being a cooler, which means he's a guy that
he diffuses the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So without like it escalating in the for a Roadhouse means honky tonk or like a shitty dive bar with music. That's what a Roadhouse is.
Right. So there's tons of restaurants in the country called like what is it, like, Barbecue Roadhouse, Smokehouse.
Right.
Right.
So that's what it's kind of like. That's what it's referring to. It's referring to like these places in the middle of the South that are like these rough and tumble like dive bars where there's
Right.
like a band playing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, but the thing about it is like he is like this sought after. It's almost like there's a free agent market with these
Yeah,
coolers.
he's like a
in the movie.
legendary bouncer.
He's got like a reputation.
Yeah.
So he's sought after by this guy. He's in New York and he's like working as a cooler in this bar in New York, but it's all a very classy bar in New York.
Right.
And like you're supposed to just assume that he turned the bar around.
Exactly. So
Like,
that's
that's what
like
he does.
his backstory.
By
is-
being the bouncer?
By being
Yeah.
a bouncer, because like every place he gets hired at is these places that are rough and tumble, and like sort of like they're trying to clean this place up. So they hire him, this legendary cooler, to make the bar nicer and for the bar to make money.
Right.
Ah, I like
yeah,
it.
They pay him a shitload of money, and then he turns it around. And then he's almost like he's like Kane from Kung Fu. Like he
Yeah.
just comes and he does a mission.
He's a grifter,
He's like
yeah,
the
yeah.
A-team, but of a bouncer. Like he comes and he fixes a problem for them, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know what the
Okay.
A-team is. That's
He's
an
like,
old
hey,
show.
when the job is done, he goes on to the next town. So-
Right. So then while he's at this bar in New York, this guy from the, what is it called? The Triple Ace or the
Double Deuce.
The Double Deuce. The Double Deuce. The Double Deuce bar. This guy comes in, and this guy actually is a great character actor. The guy,
He is,
he
yeah.
plays Locke's dad on Lost.
He sure does, yeah.
Yes.
No.
He's great. He's
Wow.
good at, he can
Great
play,
memory.
Yeah, he can play good or bad, this guy who owns the bar. And he's supposed to be the good guy in this movie. So, but what happens is, so he comes up and he goes, I've heard about you.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how he
That's
says it.
pretty much what he says. He offers, so he's like, I come into a bit of money in Jasper, Missouri. I've opened this place. It's a pretty rough place, but you're the best. And I want you to come to help me
Does he
clean this
do
place up.
anything besides just be the bouncer? What
No,
does he
but we'll
do
get into
to
that a little
clean-
bit later.
No, you mean like in the movie or you mean in general?
You say like he cleans the place up, like he fixes it somehow.
So what happens is he has him come in and he runs a team of bouncers.
He runs a team of bouncers,
And
right?
that's it?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. But what it's doing is it's getting all the undesirables out of the bar
Correct, yeah.
that cause all the fights. Like this
Yeah.
place is a real like Southern honky tonk like badass. But that's what they were trying
Yeah.
to convey. Like this
The
badass.
band
Does it
plays
have
behind.
like cowboys coming in, or this
yeah,
is a
like,
different time?
Just rednecks and just idiots.
Just rednecks is like, so he describes them as power drinkers, people who are on modern technology, meaning like steroids and drugs.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love modern technology.
So then what they do is he accepts the gig.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I always found this interesting. He's in New York. I guess he doesn't need a car in New York, but that he goes to a garage where he has
A
Mercedes that he has a cover on it. He takes the cover off, right?
Yeah, so that's like his travel car, but he also has every town he goes to, he buys like a beater.
Yeah, because
people want to like Nessa's like fuck him up and fuck up his car, so he gets like a crappy car every town he goes.
Nice.
So like when in New York, he
Nice.
gives the car to a homeless guy. He's
Yeah.
like, hey, you have this car. He takes his Mercedes and he heads to Branson
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
or
goes-
Jasper, Missouri. Yeah, Jasper, Missouri.
So he goes, but he drives in this like brand new Mercedes.
Yeah.
So the only time he's ever using this Mercedes is like when he's traveling.
When he's
from
traveling
Wait,
from
then
town to
he-
town, yeah.
Oh, he didn't give the homeless guy
No,
the
I get the homeless
Mercedes?
guy
No.
the beater.
The
All
beater.
right.
Yeah.
Well, less impressed. Okay.
So he gets to Jasper and then like checks out the whole. You want to say what it is?
Yeah, it's called the Double Deuce.
Called the Double Deuce, checks it out, and it's basically as rough as you can get. Like
Yeah.
the band is playing behind chicken wire because they get bottles thrown
Yeah,
at them.
Jeff Healy band.
Jeff
yeah.
Healy band, which was a real band, right?
Which was a real band. It was a blind musician. He died, I guess, like 10 years ago or something.
Oh,
like that.
did he die?
Yeah,
That's
he did
right.
die,
I did
yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
I think I looked that up.
I think I posted a little something about Jeff Healy band from Roadhouse, the greatest movie ever made.
And were they?
See this.
I I was thinking of, you know what's so funny is I was thinking of Jeff Buckley. When I first saw that movie, I was like, oh, it's Jeff Buckley. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, no, it's not.
Jeff Healey.
But did they have, never had like a single or anything. They were just kind of like a.
Yeah, it's like When Eyes Are Smiling, I think it's the big Jeff Healey song.
Oh,
you gotta remember,
really?
I'm a Southerner, so this is like
yeah.
These are like things that like every person who's been into Tennessee knows. Just like,
You know who it is.
Yeah, I know it is, and I've actually been to bars like the Double D's before in my life. So,
well, Jeff Healey, Farrah, to give you an idea, is part of one of the best scenes in the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Where Patrick Swayze, who's named Dalton in the movie, what happens is it finally comes to a head. He gets there. And he gets into a fight in the bar. He starts kicking ass like crazy, like kung fu style, kicking ass in the bar. So he beats up a bunch of rednecks.
It sounds
and
fun.
one of the best lines in the movie. And there's music playing. Jeff Healey band's playing music the whole time. And then after it's all like kind of calmed down, you hear the music stop, and Jeff Healey goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Dalton McQuaid."
That's right.
It's like the corniest thing ever. Like he's introducing it to the town.
So he walks in, and then all of a sudden he's like, yeah.
Pretty much.
So he's basically like, just when he walks into Double D's, he's looking around to see what's going on. He sees a waitress selling drugs. She's gone.
Yeah.
He sees a guy. One of the bartenders is like stealing money out of the till, putting it in his back pocket. He's gone.
Yeah.
So he goes in there like he pretty much just cleans up the staff.
Does he just tell them, please leave?
Yeah, so there's like a staff meeting the next day. And they all get severance checks. So
this sounds super fun.
Yeah, it's
I
such
feel
a
like
fun movie.
This is the job for me.
Yeah.
I've been just getting into Kitchen Nightmares. I don't know what industry, but I feel my role is to go somewhere and kick out the bad people.
Yeah, no, it's
and tell people how they're running their business wrong.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah, I want to complain a lot.
So the running gag that she mentioned that's said in the trailer is like, I figured you'd be bigger. Like everybody that meets him, they know that he's like this legendary badass. So they all think that he's like 6'5", 230 pounds. No, he's like 5'8", 185 pounds. So that's like whenever he gets introduced, it's like, oh, I figured you'd be bigger.
Yeah, but you're right.
They cut it in the trailer in a very odd way. You don't really know what they're talking about, and you're like,
But you're right. You know what's kind of crazy? Roadhouse is almost like the original Bar Rescue.
Yeah, it totally is. It totally is.
He's the first. He's John Taffer, but he beats people up.
It's true
because he's coming to like clear up the bar. Because he gets rid of staff. He gets rid of people who are stealing.
Right.
So yeah,
there's something very satisfying about watching that trope of things.
Well, it's such a especially when you're a kid, like because this came out I think when we were like 12 or something. Like
it's 1987, and
was it 87? So I was 9.
Oh, let's get the
right?
stats up.
Yeah,
I think it was 1989.
I'm sorry, 89. Because 87 is when Dirty Dancing came out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So he was like the height. Patrick Swayze was like
height
the height
of his popularity.
Yeah.
But
I saw that.
You saw Dirty. Of course you did.
Yeah, and then the very next year is Ghost, which is I guess his biggest
90.
movie. So,
Also saw it.
Yeah, well, nice. So you're actually a bigger fan than I am. Yeah.
All right, we've got Roadhouse, rated R, a 1989 drama thriller running at 1 hour and 54 minutes. It has a whopping 38% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Those people don't know what you're talking
6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, and 82% of Google users.
This Google user score is
like
always the one that does it.
Movie.
It's so they don't dislike anything. Google users.
It's
I think it's because
it's weird.
It's not even a good. My theory is this. I think I've said this once before. If you're a Google user, chances are you're downloading on Android or you're doing something. Right. So it's something you want to watch. So you're going to give it a favorable review.
I think it's just this thumbs up, thumbs down. And if you even get to this,
is that what it is?
Then you were looking it up anyway.
That makes more sense then.
That's my theory. We have a lot of theories. If any of our listeners have any more information on the Google users movie rating, whatever it is, algorithm, whatever, we need to know. We need to get to the bottom of this mystery, and Defend Your Movie is going to be the place where we find these answers and uncover the truth about Google users. And
Rotten Tomatoes, because there's also like articles out there about how Rotten Tomatoes is a failed system and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but it tends to have better than reasonable ratings where you're like, that's been known to be a great movie. Yeah, it's 99%.
Like we talked about before a bunch of times, it's a numbers game. So it's like we've picked out two movies, one that's not as well known. If your movie's not as well known, you might have a lower score but not deserve the lower score.
Because there's not as many reviews.
There's not as many reviews. Yeah. So they're doing it based off reviews. So whatever, but The weird thing is that it has 38% on that. I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. We can still do the plot, but as we're talking, but yeah. But basically, one of the points I wanted to bring up is like, and we can talk about this later or now, whatever you want to do, but does it creep into The Room territory? Does it become so bad, this movie, and so cheesy that it becomes good almost?
Wait,
it becomes,
it's that bad? I feel
It's
like
very
everything I've
cheesy.
heard
It's-
so far sounds.
Well, we're describing it in plain words.
So it's like I'm describing like oddly enough one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm
It
going to be
is?
giddy about just talking. And I watched it again this morning, and so it's
And it holds up. It's still
it totally
fantastic.
does, but it's like it's awesomely bad. Like The Room is just doesn't make any sense. It's like Roadhouse at least is like there's a story.
Yes.
Granted, it's
Yeah.
silly.
It's silly.
because he's a legendary bouncer. I
Yeah,
think
they were like the filmmakers were capable. Put it that way.
right.
Yeah, and it's like, and it has a
Is
the
it based
plot
on a true
makes
story?
sense.
No, but I wish it was. I wish it was actually my life.
Well,
I
I'm
did go to
wondering-
college in Memphis, and the character has a sordid past in Memphis. So, so maybe it is loosely based on me.
Well, it probably is.
Yeah.
I wonder what the occupation of cooler is a real thing.
That is a real thing, yeah.
I think it's my future career.
And there's 2 movies about coolers. Because remember there was a movie called The Cooler?
Called The Cooler, yeah.
And that was a guy who was just sent over to cool off a table that was
Right,
hot.
right.
in a
Which is like
casino.
an old school like Vegas thing.
And was that a real thing, too?
That was a real thing, yeah.
It was just a guy who, like...
It's just a guy who had bad luck.
yeah.
So he would be sent over to a person that was like doing really, really well, and then all of a sudden he would just
Wow.
But
And this cooler is a different kind of cooler.
Oh, okay.
So basically, all right. So there you go. He's introduced to the town,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people already hate him because he's kicked some ass already,
he's already fired
and he's
some
already
people.
fired some people.
Yeah.
So what else happens, George?
So one of the guys that he fires happens to be the nephew of a corrupt businessman in this town,
Okay.
and that's not looked upon. That's Ben Gazzara, who plays who's Jackie Treehorn, and
Yeah, and Big Lebowski.
I mean, there's great actors in this thing,
that's the thing.
and I haven't gotten to
I
my
know.
favorite actor in the movie. So
And even Patrick Swayze is like a good actor.
he's a good actor,
He's good
yeah.
in Outsiders. He's good like in other stuff.
Yeah.
He's good in Dirty
Ghost?
Dancing.
no,
What?
He's
Ghost
great
is
in
good.
Ghost. Yeah.
So they have good actors in this movie. Ben Gazzara is awesome.
He's so great.
He's such a good villain in these. Killing of a Chinese bookie.
So he upsets this.
Local
you know-
corrupt businessman who's pretty much bleeding the town. Everybody's
yeah,
getting rich.
he basically owns the town.
He basically
quote
owns this town.
Nice. Is most importantly, I need to know: is there a love story here?
Oh, there is.
unquote. Oh, there is.
It is like we're getting
Yeah.
there. We're slowly getting there.
And it's
but
also
yeah.
it's an important one to me. I'll tell you why, because it was like one of the first nudity things I've ever seen.
There's nudity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when we get to the end, we talk about like the top 3 things that I love about this movie. The sex scene is hot.
yeah, it is.
It's really hot.
It is.
It's like he's got Otis Redding playing in the background. He's like lifting her up as Kelly Lynch is.
was super hot.
It was super hot in the 80s.
Yeah, she was super hot in the 80s.
No.
So sorry, go ahead.
He fires the guy that works at. So that pretty much sets this sort of the story on. So it's like So this guy wants to get his job back. He's like, no. And it was like, well, do you know who my uncle is? And the uncle is like this sort of corrupt businessman, kind of a badass.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really give a shit about your uncle, blah, blah, blah. And that pretty much sets up this war between this bouncer and this corrupt businessman.
And the corrupt businessman has his own henchmen, like
Yeah,
his
he's-
nephew and the crew of guys.
But crew of guys that fight for him.
Yeah, one of them's like a big fat guy. It's
Yeah.
like out of Central Casting. One's a big fat guy. One's just like a lurch looking guy, and
Right.
then his nephew who just looks like he has the mustache and he's just like a
Yeah, it's actually his
sleazy
nephew
looking guy.
is John Doe from the band X.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, it's the lead singer of this late 80s punk band named
It's
John
so
Doe. Yeah.
funny. That happens a lot in
Yeah.
movies, I think. Because I forget what band it is. In Ferris Bueller's Day Off, one of the guys, the parking attendants, is in he in Sonic Youth or something?
No, I think that's
He's
he's
in-
an actor. I just forget his name.
But
yeah,
he's in a band.
He's in a band. Yeah,
He's in a band,
Yeah.
right? But it was a pretty big band.
It's a pretty big band.
That just
yeah.
happens a lot, I think.
It does. I mean, John Doe's done acting before. John Doe's a Boogie Nights my favorite movie of all time, but John Doe's in that too. So
I should
is
see
he in
that one.
but you should see that one. That
Who
was
does he
great.
play in that?
So Amber Waves, when she's trying to get her kid back.
He's the husband.
He's the husband.
That's right.
Yeah,
he
it's
is.
John Doe.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Well, you know.
Wow, good pull. There
I
we
tried,
go.
so.
We should do a character actor off.
Yeah, John Doe.
Wow,
from the
that's
band
really
X.
good.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was a guy's name, John Doe. It's so funny. And it's so funny that his name's John Doe and he's in Boogie Nights. It sounds like a porno name. It's not.
It is. It does sound like a porno name.
So, Yeah, his nephew. That's his nephew. That's this guy. That's Ben Gazzara's nephew in the movie. So Ben Gazzara rules the town.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze is just trying to clean up this bar, but Ben Gazzara wants it to be a shithole. Like,
Right.
I don't know. I think it just has control over it.
Yeah,
like, whatever it is.
Correct, yeah. Because like all the townspeople, they pretty much, it's called the Jasper Improvement. So they're just paying him money.
Yeah, it's like his own private like Southern mafia. Like, it's
for the most
basically-
part, yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just this gang of thugs that just like they get payoff to protect quote unquote the town from
Right.
whatever from themselves. You know, that kind of thing.
So it's starting to veer off to absurd, but we'll bring it all the way back.
Right.
So he digs himself an even bigger hole by falling in love with the local doctor who just happens to be Ben Gazzara's ex-girlfriend.
Right.
So, which is Kelly Lynch's character.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
And she's
so
I like that
another
she's a doctor.
Yeah, she's a doctor,
That's
yeah.
cool.
She is a doctor, so this movie is ahead of its game. And so this is a very progressive movie.
I don't
think
know
so,
about
yeah.
the progressiveness.
It's still silly, but yeah, she's a doctor. And how they made it after getting in like a huge fight at the bar, she's the one that he sees that he carries around his own like medical records.
What?
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You're right. That's right.
Excuse
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, he carries around his own medical records.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze.
I wanna
he
do
gets-
that.
So he gets stabbed at the bar and has to go to the emergency room. She's a
Right.
doctor in the emergency room or whatever. In the town, it's a small town.
Yeah.
And that's right. He has his.
He has his
I'm
medical records.
so confused about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, because he's like always
Does
in
he have
fights.
diabetes or
And no, he's always in fights, and he's always getting stabbed or getting shot at. And it's listed all this stuff. And early on in the movie, he does his own stitches, and she mentions like how he's like, those are pretty good stitches. Nice job.
Oh, nice.
So-
nice.
My favorite thing in that scene, though, is the fact that she find out, for some reason, his medical records, it talks about where he went to college, which is NYU.
Yes, bitch! Woo! Represent!
Yeah.
Did you run into Patrick Swayze as the cooler?
Hell yeah. Okay.
Why does it say where did it go?
He went to NYU.
And why is it NYU?
And I do have no idea, but
Amazing.
yeah,
There should be a moment where he's like, "Oh no, those are my school records."
Yeah,
I
exactly.
bring home
A lot of great bouncers come out of NYU.
That's
what
true.
I was thinking. They should highlight that as a career. coming out of NYU.
That should be a
It's
major.
like, you know who went there?
Now,
Dalton
do you
from
think
Roadhouse.
this, like, the more information I'm finding out, the more I'm wondering, and we do ask this question a lot on this podcast, but were the creators in on the joke with this? Were they reaching for some absurd
No. I think
stuff?
they were playing it straight.
Yeah, they're
Yeah?
playing it straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do ask that a lot. We actually haven't asked that in a while.
Because some of these
Some of these
things
are-
that are being thrown out now, are
this
starting to
was
seem a little
1990s,
funky.
probably old guy. There's probably old producers behind this, and like the team that was doing it was left over from like the 70s.
Sure, yeah.
And they have an idea of what's badass and what's not. And also, it's a sign. Everything was a sign of the times. Like Patrick Swayze's hair, the music in it, the fighting. Like he's doing like ballet fighting. Like,
He
it's-
is, yeah.
Because he's so I think he danced. He was a dancer.
He was a
Yeah,
dancer, yeah.
yeah.
And it was
and
like,
he's just so spry.
yeah, I mean, like they always made sure to give him
Nice.
a moment to make sure he have his shirt off or like a shirt
Yeah.
that shows because the guy was ripped. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
and they also
sounds like a movie I could appreciate.
yeah.
Also, timing wise, this was pre self-awareness of those movies. This was
Yeah.
pre like sarcastic tone of those movies.
It really
Right.
is amazing to me,
This
like
is the movie that, like-
turnover of like style and fads and
Sure.
things. It's really daunting, especially just being in entertainment and kind of knowing that. You can't get too in your head about
I
it, but
think it's because-
it is changing faster and faster and faster.
I think
Yeah.
it's because as people, we become more jaded. The more pop culture you see with the same tone or whatever, and then you get sick of it and you go, it becomes cheesy. Everything, it wears out its welcome. And also, the way that the world is now, especially now, we're like, ugh, we're over this, we're over that.
Yeah.
But back in the day, in
But
the 80s.
there are new things that people are
in the
excited
80s,
about.
There are, but it's way different. It's self-aware. There's self-awareness as a part of it. So even when you watch the new Star Wars, now we have the internet, so there's a faction of people that are going to absolutely hate it. Back in the day, people were so excited to get this entertainment. They
Yeah.
were loving
Yeah, 'cause-
every
Yeah.
bit of it.
Because the one thing
Fucking
that's like,
ingrates.
Yeah.
yeah, the one thing that's great about Roadhouse, it is very entertaining. I mean, the premise
Yes.
is silly. Like, to even think about it now, I'm like, oh, this is a movie about a fucking bouncer.
I like the premise. For the whole first part of this podcast, I forgot we were defending a movie people didn't like.
I've done my job.
It sounded riveting to me.
We were saying it pretty matter of factly. Which if you did,
But
it
it
in a
is
different
one of
tone,
your truly, honestly, one of your favorite movies.
It is,
right?
yeah. It's like in my top 5 for sure.
You
Wow.
could have made, if you did this with a gritty tone, you could have made this even more of a badass, like a Bad Lieutenant type.
Oh,
movie.
100%. I mean, like, but
Where he
Cool
goes-
concept.
And there could have been, but what happened was what he got caught up in is the sign of the times they got caught up in was like, oh, there's like corny music, and it was like right in that beginning. In '89, all the '90s stuff was like already hitting, so like
Right.
all that was new. So they were probably dying to put it in there, like the styles, everything looks very '90s in it. The music, like the plot of it was probably, who knows when that script was left over from. It could have been left over from the early '80s or the '70s.
I think it's early '80s, late '70s because it reminds me of a B movie from that era.
Yeah, absolutely,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has that kind of feel to it, and the way that movies were, and they are to this day. Look at this, like Steven Mnuchin, the guy who does the Treasury Secretary. He produced Batman vs Superman. It's just people with money just get involved in movies, and if you have enough money, you'll make the movie that you want. Look at Saved by the Bell, how cheesy that is, and pretty much at a very young age, it's cheesy. It's because the guy who created it was like, he was this corny old dude who was making it. He was like in his 40s at the time, this guy Peter Engel, and that's what he thought kids were doing, like you're talking about, and what he thought would be cool for kids. So whenever you have a piece of pop culture where somebody who's completely out of touch is making something that's supposed to be cool for the masses, it becomes corny, and this is what happened. And I think also the reason this became a thing is because very quickly this became out of date. Like this was '89, so it wasn't like you had the '86 to '90 period where you could be like,
no.
awesome.
It was like, it wasn't that much later that was like the movie was like was probably deemed kind of absurd,
right?
It was like
exactly like it was like when then you get into the '90s, and you know what though, '90 I would say until, what would you say it turned, '93?
Probably '93, the beginning of like, or sort of the middle of grunge and.
Yep.
So
yeah, you know what? That's another thing. Good point.
Yeah.
This is prime hair band metal, and that the movie has that vibe to it. Patrick Swayze looks like he could be a metal heavy metal singer. So it's like one of those things where it's like it was a sign of a very short period of time. So when all the other rest of that stuff became cheesy, that stuff becomes cheesy. And so, but then what happens? People see it and they realize how much fun it is, and they go, "No, I love it anyway."
Totally fun.
So people are loving it ironically, and then it becomes this bad movie. But my question before was like, now, can you the 38% surprises me, because it's like I thought more people would have liked
that
it.
It's gone full circle.
That it's gone full circle.
If you go to the Wikipedia page, there's like Bill Murray mentions it as like it being one of his favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
because and like there's a lot of people who are like, no, the movie is great because it's. I think it's now they're probably saying this like we are self-aware. We know this is a movie about a bouncer, but
right, but I
still love it. So
that's what I mean by full circle. So it's like we know it was corny at one time. We know it's a movie about a bouncer. Now we're just appreciating it straightforward for how much fun it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's pretty much what the original intent of the movie was.
I think so.
It was supposed to be this like popcorn, like fun movie, but they probably didn't know it would come off as cheesy because they were living in that time, so they didn't know it would come off as cheesy. So once you can get rid of that baggage of like, look how corny their hair is,
I mean,
look
like,
how corny
exactly.
the music is.
If you go in there wanting to have a good time,
you're gonna watch that was like done in a different time, wouldn't you say, "Oh, look how corny the hair is"? Like, you can't really. What?
It's just that period of time.
Yeah.
No, because you know why? Because I'll tell you why. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because if you watch movies if I watch Singing in the Rain now, right? All right, that's from the 50s. So if you say stuff from the old stuff is corny, it's not corny. I watch it and I go, "Oh my god, it's so awesome!" Like the way the things look back then.
Different.
This is like, or if you look, okay, I'll give you an example. Like, I don't know. Even if you look at like movie from the 90s that were like, they were period pieces. Like Goodfellas was trying to be filmed 60s, 70s, 80s. But I mean, like, but the tone that this movie has, any movies from that like 5-year era, like now, like Working Girl. Like you look at Working Girl, she had weird hair in that.
That movie is definitely in the 80s. Yeah,
that's in the 80s. So
I
it's
love
like
Working Girl.
Working Girl is so good.
But it's great, a great movie. But you have these movies where it's like, but then if you look at like Philadelphia, Philadelphia came out, and nobody really thinks of Philadelphia as cheesy because it dealt with a heavy. Working Girl was like, hey, it's this girl from Staten Island. She's going to the city to work. Philadelphia is like, I have AIDS. Like it's like this heavy duty topic. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of different rules for what considers it to be corny, and like you just dismissive of it, and like we probably shouldn't dismiss things as much as we do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, it's on us. So it's making what it's doing is it's making us go, oh, that's corny. That's so 80s. Like, and then in the 90s, when you're past that point, you want to be like new and fresh. But then there's movies that come out in the 90s. Like, here's the thing: you realize people were thinking Roadhouse was cheesy when they were watching Hackers and thinking that was cool.
Right,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Like,
And
it's it's things that are so right, and it's terrible. We just had that on the podcast. But you know what I'm saying? Like Roadhouse is exponentially a better movie than Hackers is.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
Okay, wow.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's really weird. Like,
I'm
depends
so
on
confused on this one.
There's a weird tone things have to take where they're embracing the lost parts of like pop culture or like, okay, so Hackers, like, they, even at the time Hackers was coming out, like, the real Hackers did not act like Hackers did in Hackers the movie.
Sure.
So it was not authentic at all.
Right.
So people thought it was corny because of that. And that will always stay corny. Like how the net was, where you're like, the internet didn't even look like that back then.
Right.
If you would have kept it how it looked, even though it would have been boring, now that, if the internet looked how it did back then, in the net or in Hackers, and like how Hackers were, we wouldn't think it's that cheesy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and the difference with Working Girl and Roadhouse, those are just period things where like you literally can go, oh, I can get past some hair. This is a fun movie. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, one of the other things I like it is, like, they took, like, these character actors and gave them, like, some lines that don't make any sense, and they delivered it. So, like, a character that we haven't talked about is Sam Elliott, who's one of the greatest character actors of all time.
Oh, he's amazing.
He plays Patrick Swayze's character, Dalton's, like, mentor. He's a great southern name, Wade Garrett.
Yeah.
So
really
he comes
cool.
in, yeah, just really, really cool guy, and like they give him lines like, it was like, "I'll get plenty of sleep when I'm dead." But it was like hearing Sam Elliott say that, you're like, "Oh, well, that's great." that makes sense. It was like, yeah, Sam Elliott's a man. Get plenty of sleep when I'm dead, or yeah. So
you know what I just realized? Not to interrupt you, I'm sorry. Do you know Ben Gazzara is the villain in this?
Yeah.
Ben Gazzara is the villain in Big Lebowski.
yeah, Jackie Treehorn.
Wade Garrett is his friend in this.
See, there's some parallels.
Sam Elliott is the stranger.
He is the stranger, yes.
And Big Lebowski. I don't think that was not on purpose.
So I'm thinking the Coen brothers are like, we need to get these two guys in this movie from the movie Roadhouse.
I wouldn't be surprised because Ben Gazzara has the same in Big Lebowski.
It's very
same tone.
The characters are very similar. Yeah,
Very similar.
Yeah.
Where it's like these you know, like these he's just this he's the porn producer.
Yeah.
But he like kind of runs the town. He runs whatever it is. So I bet you they thought of Roadhouse when they were writing.
They
the
had
character.
to. They had to. I mean, it's a phenomenal movie.
So Sam Elliott plays like Patrick Swayze's like friend, like from I guess the rough and tumble
days of like the early days of being a bouncer in small towns all over the country. So, yeah. So he comes. He calls his buddy Patrick Swayze or
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott is like, hey, have you ever heard of this guy? Ben Gazzara's character is like, no, I don't think so. He's like, are you in trouble? He's like, no, nothing I can't handle.
Yeah.
And like 20 minutes later, he's like, I'm gonna come to this town and see if you're okay.
And this is also, if you want to call this movie very succinct, because he's literally getting into a fight of the parking lot of the bar with these guys, and Sam Elliott just pulls up.
Yeah, that's right.
It's actually kind of funny.
It really is. Yeah.
He pulls up and he's like, "You got this," and he just smokes a cigarette, waiting until he has to jump in on the fight. So I guess parts of it have a sense of humor about it.
They do, yeah.
And it has that 80s
I'm
action
not
thing
convinced
to it.
they didn't know it was cheesy.
No, I don't believe they did.
I don't think they did either. I mean,
I'll trust the two people in the room who have seen the movie over myself.
well, I think what it is like, it's anybody else probably could have taken those lines. Like, there's a fight scene in one of the movies or one of the parts of the movie in which the character says, I used to fuck guys like you in prison. Now, there is a way that you can say it and make it sound cheesy and make it sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the way he says it, you're just sort of like, all right, man, that's kind of crazy. But like, now we're fighting.
It's like everything you say about this movie sounds like it's from a different movie.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I don't know how we've gotten to this point.
That's actually a good point because there's weird things in this movie that like you have like weird like not slapstick. There's just slapstick moments at the end of this movie. But there's also parts where it gets dark and it's trying to be badass. So you're right. Like, it is kind of lost at times where it's like, hey, you have these little comedic moments, or like, you know, when he shows up at the fight and he's like, do you need help? And he's like, no. And he just lights up a cigarette. But there's also like the part towards the end, like, she gets kidnapped. She gets kidnapped.
No,
No, they kidnap.
They start this. this Ben Gazzara, that character starts like just taking out on the townspeople.
Yes.
So he starts like destroying the businesses that because they're refusing to give him money and blah, blah, blah. It's the whole gangster thing.
What?
And she's like,
Well, hold on, really quickly.
Yeah.
When he's doing this and he's freaking out about what this guy's doing, like what Patrick Swayze is doing and how he's trying to thwart him and all. He goes at one point. He goes, J.C. Penney. I brought J.C. Penney.
That's right.
To this town.
That's right. I brought them all.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a line in the movie where
Yeah.
I brought J.C. Penney to this town.
I mean, maybe that's a big deal in that town.
Well, back in '89.
Back in the 80s, it's like,
89.
yeah.
That's a big deal.
I
but
wonder. I bet my mom liked this movie.
she probably did.
She was a big Swayze head back in the day.
bet you she went to the theaters to see it. I'll
I'm
make a
gonna
bet.
have to ask her.
Yeah, you
I'll
should.
have to
Cause,
see what her review is.
No, I mean, the reason why I've seen it so many times is because, like, when I was a kid, it was always on TBS. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like every Thursday, it was like Roadhouse is on, so I was like, oh, I guess I'll watch it. And then going to college in Tennessee, like, where I've been to places like this, I was like, well, and my friends in college, we all loved it too. It was like, we used to go to this place called the Denim and Diamonds, which is just like the Double Deuce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just sort of just.
That sounds so fun.
yeah. So,
And was it like this?
very, very similar. Very
Was there
similar.
crime?
There wasn't as much fighting as there was in this movie, but there were some fights, and they're usually out in the parking lot. But yeah, I haven't gone to like places like this. I was like, and I just
One of these places that has like a crew of bouncers.
a ton of bouncers.
Ton of bouncers,
yeah, ton of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
But places that are known for people
Do
getting
they look like Patrick
shit-faced drunk.
Swayze?
No, unfortunately, none of them look like Patrick Swayze.
It's
They're
places
not
people
close
are
to
known
that.
for getting shit-faced drunk.
Yeah.
And then they have to
Get in fights,
purposely
yeah.
loaded, and then they have to get in the fights. at the
Yeah,
end of the
yeah.
night. I'll tell you, I think the miss on this movie is, I think what they were trying to do was they were trying to make it for the ladies and for the guys.
Right.
So it's almost like you had a lighthearted action movie. Well, a lot of action movies from the 80s are lighthearted, you know?
They are.
But I think because they had Patrick Swayze, they're like, let's put him without his shirt on as much as we can, but also let's have these badass fight scenes. One
The
where he,
fight
like,
scenes are great.
karate kicking dudes in the face
Yeah.
into the water, and like just all these really pretty badass scenes. Like they're cool fight scenes, and so then they're like, let's put these together, and then it'll be a great date movie. It'll
Exactly.
be like that.
There's something for
quintessential-
everybody.
Okay,
yeah.
I see where they were going with that.
And think about that. Back in the 80s, like you didn't have what we have. Like,
Right, it was a big deal to
it
go
was
to
a
the movies.
big deal to go to the
right?
movies.
Right.
Remember, Blockbuster was a big deal. This was a big deal. Like, it was a big deal. Like, this is your entertainment for the week. You
Was
know?
that what people would do as a date most of the time?
Movies?
Or-
Yeah. I think when I first started dating, I would go to the movie. Movies all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Movies, or I would go, I don't even know. I think
Back
we would
when
go
you
like Tower
started
Records
dating.
or something. Like,
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the mall.
go to the mall. The mall was a biggie.
I mean,
go to the
people
mall,
still
the food
go
court.
to movies on dates. I was just curious. Back in the day,
Back in the day, but I think it was like,
But it was
a
an
bigger
event.
deal.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
an event. Like, you guys have Movie Pass and y'all see movies all the time, and as do I. But like back in those days, it was like, I guess we'll go to a movie today.
Like, how often? Like, once
Not
every
as
few months?
Yeah, probably once every few months.
Yeah. You wouldn't go as much, you know.
Yeah.
And now there's content being thrown at you on your phone at any given moment. So
Sure.
like you go
Yeah.
on your phone right now, you could watch 3 different, probably half-hour original screen, written
Yeah.
things, you know, if you wanted to. Back then, it was like, I'm dying to see this because everybody's talking about it and
Right.
whatever it is. So you want to explain the rest of what happens? We got to wrap up
All right,
fairly
so
soon. But
yeah, so we'll go ahead and give the quick version of it. So like as you learn throughout the movie, is Patrick Swayze's character has a bit of a past. And his past is that he killed a guy in Memphis who pulled a gun on him.
Right.
And that's one of the things that gets brought up again because Ben Gazzara's character finds out is like, so I have a cousin in Memphis. It's like, I heard you killed a guy there. And it's like, you could tell that Patrick Swayze's character is a little unnerved.
He's
It's
like,
like,
bum, bum,
it's like, how do you know about this? It's like, relax. It's like, I heard it was self-defense and blah, 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 blah. And the way he kills this guy is the guy pulls a gun on him and he rips the guy's throat out. He blocks a sort of thing and rips the guy's throat out.
That's
So,
how he killed that
That's
guy.
how he killed that guy, yeah.
there you go. There's your example of like, hey, there's jokes in it, but also I ripped the guy's throat out.
I ripped the
That's
guy.
pretty
I'm a
hardcore.
bad dude. Yeah, it's like, do not mess with me.
Yeah.
So like as the movie goes on, it's like things are just, like coming to a head between him and that corrupt businessman, and there's like fights all over the place now, and he kills that corrupt businessman main guy Jimmy the exact same way that he killed that guy in Memphis. The guy pulls a gun on him, rips his throat out. Now remember, his girlfriend's a doctor, realizes that he's a charming guy, but he's also a sociopath.
So she gets terrified.
I love
She's
murderers.
terrified. Yeah, she's like terrified of this. Like, I don't know what I've gotten myself into. I need to get out of this. And at this point, like Patrick Swayze's character is like, all right, that businessman wins. We're out of here.
Yeah.
So he talks
And
to
that's
his
a
buddy.
badass fight when he fights that guy Jimmy, who's like,
Oh,
it's
that
it's
seems awesome.
It's so funny too. It's almost like out of a video game. It's almost like it's the main boss, or
Oh,
the
yeah,
one
yeah.
for the main boss.
Exactly.
Because it's basically Ben
That's exactly how I
Gazzara's.
felt. Yeah.
It's Ben Gazzara's version of Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
So it's like if you had like two Ryus from fighting
Exactly.
each other from Street Fighter, but like.
The shit talk is amazing. It's like, damn boy, I thought you'd be bigger. And like that's like, and that gets brought up again. Yeah.
And they just keep saying it.
Yeah.
But then he ends up getting him, and yeah, like you said, he pulls his throat out.
He pulls his throat out and kills
in
him,
the
yeah.
water.
Wow.
And she's like pretty much freaked out by this.
That's harsh.
So it's like the wrap story up is like he goes find Sam Elliott's character and is like, hey, we're getting out of here. If that guy wins, we don't need this bullshit. Goes back to the bar to double deuce, finds out that Sam Elliott's character has been killed
By those guys.
by
Stabbed.
those guys. Yeah,
Like stabbed like on the bar.
On the
like,
bar,
This
yeah.
way.
Wait, who?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott's character,
friend.
friend who's also
Okay.
like an older
the one
bouncer.
that he was going to leave with?
Yeah,
Wade Garrett.
Yeah.
And there's also an intro
Oh
scene
my
for Wade Garrett.
God, this movie.
It gets real dark.
What the hell?
Yeah,
Where the Jeff Healy band goes, ladies and gentlemen, Wade Garrett.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's in there
he
too. I
has
forgot
been
about that part.
stabbed to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wade Garrett's no more.
So
Wait, that actually happens?
Well, earlier he says, they don't announce his death. They announce him being, when they both fight a bunch of guys and they end up in the bar, Jeff Healy's playing again and he stops and goes, also Wade Garrett.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
brings
Yeah.
him up as well, because
No.
like he's introing them. And then later, the point that George is talking about is when he goes back to be like, hey, I'm out of here, man. And he's on the bar and he's like, oh, what, you couldn't sleep it off or whatever?
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
rolls him over and there's like a knife.
There's a knife
Oh
in
my
it.
God.
Yeah, and like
oh my God.
so kudos to Patrick Swayze. He's like he had some real
Casual.
tears there.
Yeah.
There's some real tears.
Yeah, no, it's great.
He's
so then
a good
just-
actor.
So
he was a great actor.
So
yeah.
he loses his mind and he
loses-
goes to Ben Gazzara's mansion.
Yeah, and he starts beating up all the henchmen and killing all the henchmen one by one.
The last level of the Roadhouse video
exactly.
game.
Yeah.
Whoa. This takes a dark twist.
Yeah. So he eventually fights Ben Gazzara's character, Brad Wesley, his character.
Brad Wesley, yes.
And he just as like this fight's amazing, but like he's like, you know what? Brad Wesley's like, fuck this. He takes out a gun, and he's gonna shoot him. And then the townspeople, these people that he'd been like bleeding dry this whole time, they shoot him. So like they show up at his house with shotguns and they kill Brad Wesley's character.
Right. So the happy ending.
That's how it ends.
But it's pretty fucked up because there's tons of death. And
Yeah,
tons
it's
of
like,
death.
oh no, the last 20 minutes is just people dying.
my
Yeah.
So then,
God.
that's what I'm saying about the mixed messages.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
was
the very next
excited,
scene-
Yeah.
but no, I don't know.
Right after they all
I
kill,
like
all that
that.
murder's going on, Sam Elliott's dead. The very last scene is them all lined up. A couple of the henchmen survived.
Yeah.
A big fat guy who's like almost like the comedic relief. He survived, right? So the cops are there asking people what happened.
What happened? And then like, I didn't see nothing is what they all say. I don't see nothing.
And then he goes, a bear fell on me. Because
Yeah.
at one point a bear falls on the fat guy. And then they all start
What?
giggling, and that's the end of the movie.
And that's the end of the movie. And then so like it cuts to like Jeff Healy playing at the now rebuilt Double Deuce, and like Patrick Swayze and Kelly Lynch skinny dipping in the lake.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
That's the end of the movie.
I wanted you to love this movie because I love
Did
you on
you
this podcast.
not like it now? Do you not like it? You loved it for like 10
I
minutes.
seriously loved this movie, and now I don't know how I feel.
What did it for you? Or let's try this before you
20
answer.
minutes of murder, I think.
Oh, it's yes.
That is.
Yeah, it gets
that
dark.
Sounds
It gets real
brutal.
dark.
But
Yeah.
it's dark in this world, in that world of the thing. It doesn't get, it's the darkest. Like, you don't think this movie's going to get as dark
Yeah.
as
No,
it
no,
does.
no.
I didn't think that.
That's why you think,
And I'd
like-
like them to reconsider.
Well, it's a 30-year-old movie, so I don't know if they're going to do that. And Patrick
Oh,
Swayze
it
is
is 30
dead.
years old. My goodness.
Yeah, it is, right? Isn't it?
Yeah,
it
87,
is.
yeah.
Holy cow, it is. Oh, my God.
89, I mean, good Lord. Where are the years gone, George Gordon?
So why don't you do this? Give 3 reasons why you defend it. Maybe you'll change your mind.
Well, I haven't set
You already
my
said
mind
one. You can
yet.
re-say the one.
I'm taking a lot in.
I'm gonna put that as like number 3. Number 1 is like this is like the height of Patrick Swayze's popularity. His hair is great, and the fight scenes are tremendous. That's like just number 1. Number 2, the music is pretty great. Jeff Healy does a lot of like classic rock covers, which is like Roadhouse Blues is a song that plays throughout the movie, and I love that song, even though I hate the Doors. And then number 3, the sex scene with Kelly Lynch is hot. It's really hot. Like he lifts her up.
And she's
Otis Redding
naked?
it. Yeah, Otis Redding
Fully
playing in the
naked?
background.
Yeah,
Not complete. Yeah, it's like he lifts her
You
shirt.
see her
Yeah,
top or her boobs or whatever.
yeah. I mean, like, but that's later on. Yeah.
No, it really is a really
It's a really hot
scene.
sex scene, yeah.
And
Does he lift her up?
He
Like,
does,
that's
yeah.
his famous thing.
He does lift her up,
lifting women
yeah.
up.
And he like walks her around the room like that, which is
and
Crazy.
and you're right. And the Otis Redding helps that.
yeah. The Otis Redding scene. It
kinda makes it less corny.
Like These Arms of Mine are playing in the background.
But you can't go wrong
Yeah,
with that.
you really can't.
Can't.
That's a great song.
Okay.
So what about after those reasons? Those are
wait.
three very positive reasons. Will you see it?
Oh my God, I'm torn on this. I was like the whole beginning being like, you know what? Yes.
Yeah, I think you should. All right.
I
think I tried.
The scale tipped like at this whole murder end. That sounds pretty bad, but everything from the beginning, and I'm really interested in this concept of the bouncer and going down and fixing up the place.
Yeah, no,
and,
it's
good.
You know, the hair sounds
The hair is tremendous.
interesting.
Yeah.
And it sounds fun. I don't like 20 minutes of just gory murder
You know
at
what's
the
one of
end.
the reasons about this
but-
movie is like you'll never see anything like it again. I'm
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it sounds
actually,
like
no, they
something I
probably
feel
do.
like I have to see.
They'll probably try to remake it, but they
They
won't do
tried
it.
to with Ronda Rousey, but after her losing,
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Holly Holm was
Did
like,
they not release it or they didn't?
no, it was like so she lost to Holly Holm and hasn't been like relevant in that sport since then because
Yeah,
she's
that's
lost two in a
right.
row.
Yeah.
But they were going to remake it with her playing Dalton.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they were,
That's
but
cool.
but that's been like 3 years.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And the other thing that's like that people don't ever mention is like there isn't another movie about a bouncer ever, so it's got to be the greatest movie of all time if you think about it like that.
Well, the last thing I want to ask is like it does. I don't think it does. It doesn't qualify for the Room status. The Room status is such a disaster.
Yeah.
Like that's why I guess you have the disaster artist. But like this actually had capable people making it.
It did.
So it was more of a thing that that has gone full circle. Like
It has,
was,
yeah.
It was beloved, thought of as cheesy, then beloved again,
Yeah, I mean, like, cause you
or beloved by some people.
it's yeah, well, me and a lot of my friends also. But I mean, like, it's got Sam Elliott, it's got Ben Gazzara. These aren't like bad actors.
No,
You
right.
said though they
Exactly.
played it on TBS almost every
It
week.
felt like it was
did you
all.
say?
It felt like it was on
So
TV
it
all
must
the
have
time.
been for
yeah.
a reason,
yeah.
right?
So
People liked it.
yeah, I felt like it was on TV like every week. It was on TV.
It wasn't
so,
on
yeah.
TV. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for
George.
having me. So I get to
would
I'm
like to-
gonna watch it. I will let you know.
Yay!
yeah, it's like please let me know and like tweet at me. I was like, yeah, it's like this is great.
Would you like to plug anything?
I'm recording an album probably at the end of April.
Nice. Where?
I think it's going to be at Union Hall. So like,
Oh, perfect.
So I'll let y'all know about the dates on that. It's going to be called "You're a Good Friend," and if anybody knows me knows that's just something I just say all the time. Anyway, so. That's my
I
catchphrase.
love
That's my get her done.
that. I love that.
I get her done.
That's my get her done. So
That's amazing.
Pretty excited about that.
And what's your Twitter?
George P. Gordon 3, and that's also the same for my Instagram, which is a bunch of silly pictures of refrigerators. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Farrah, you want to say anything? Plug anything? Nothing? Yeah, show
We're
coming
going
up?
to San Fran.
Oh,
We're going
yeah,
to
that's
San,
right.
we're going to San Fran.
I
end
have
of
a
the
lot
month.
of shows coming up. So many shows.
We're going for Sketchfest. We're doing a live Defend Your Movie in San Francisco for Sketchfest. Our guest, I can announce our guest, the very great actress, Paget Brewster, is going to be.
Oh, nice.
She's going to be the guest on the show, and
Oh my
I
God, I
can't
didn't
wait.
even know that,
Yeah,
Sean.
yes, that's who it is.
You mentioned maybe.
Yeah, that's-
Oh my God.
Yeah,
What movie
so
is she gonna do?
cool.
funny. We don't
Oh
know
my
yet. She had a couple that she was thinking of, and we have to figure it out. But I'm gonna email her this week and figure it out.
How
but,
do you know her?
I don't. We got. That's the
Festival
wonders
swag?
of the wonders of industry and managers and all that. So I'm so glad that she's doing it, and she already tweeted about it, which is like couldn't have been a nicer thing to do.
Yeah,
How
that's
have I
awesome.
Yeah,
missed
she's a lot
this
of followers.
completely?
Yeah, but thank you so much for listening. We want to mention the Patreon. Farrah?
Oh, yeah. It's going wild on our Patreon. Oh, I meant to pull up the names. We've got all these new Patreon people. We're about to record a bonus episode for that where me and Sean are going to fight about the post. And it's just been so fun over there. We've been putting out, cool. I don't know. I'm bad at talking about stuff. It's
All you gotta
fun.
do is tell them where it is.
It's cool. We're having a lot of fun. It's cool. Oh God, we got to delete this. I'm trying to find the names.
Oh, you want to do the names?
Of course. No, you know what? The names deserve all the attention in the world. Top of the next episode, I'm going to read our new Patreon subscribers, and that gives you a few days a week's chance, possibly, depending on when you're listening to this, to get over there, sign up, and your name will be read at the top of next episode. Also, we will address the big controversy that Sean Donnelly still has not watched Titanic. People have Venmo'd me. People have, requested this. There's been several tweet threads, and he continues to disrespect our audience and disrespect the podcast by refusing to watch Titanic. I'm so sorry to our listeners. I apologize profusely. If it was up to me, Sean would have watched Titanic. We had told them it was going to be our first episode back.
I know. I just got very busy, and it's a very long movie.
He's so hung up on how long it is. It's like, it's a work of art. It's perfect. Just watch it.
Isn't it like 20 minutes longer than your favorite movie of all time? Goodfellas is your favorite movie, correct?
Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies of all time, yeah.
It's
not
probably,
20. No. Goodfellas is like 2 hours.
Ah, all right. See, I was thinking it was like 2.5 hours.
I'm with George. I'm with George.
You should see
Probably
it.
long.
Yeah. It's,
And also, let's mention Showbiz Studios. Thank you so much for having us. ShowbizStudios.com. They have an iTunes page. They have a YouTube page. They also, and Alex is the guy you talk to if you want to go to their website and email them about recording or
Tell
just
them how much
tell
you like our pod.
Tell them how much you like our podcast.
yeah, you guys' podcast is great.
Yeah, thank you
Sure.
so much for
No.
thank you for
So
listening to it
you
and
knew
doing
about this Titanic drama?
I've heard about this. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you
in
mentioned it last
passing.
night when I saw it.
it. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again, George. Thank you,
a lot.
Farrah.
Thanks for having
Love
me.
you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you, Sean. Bye.